Daisy Ridley admits that some people are never going to like The Rise of Skywalker. That is a headline on today's Force Friday show. And this one is coming in from Digital Spy, and of course it is the Rey actress herself, a very divisive figure amongst the Star Wars fandom, perhaps making herself even more divisive. She's been doing the rounds of the press junkets for The Rise of Skywalker, which is fast approaching, less than 2 weeks now I think, 19th of December, so yes, it's round about 2 weeks, give or take a few days, and she has been admitting, apparently, from an article with GQ magazine, that although she's very excited about Star Wars in general, about The Rise of Skywalker, she says that there are people that are never going to effing like it, and there's no other way around it. But I think people are going to feel like this was made with a lot of love, and J.J. Abrams, that is, worked really hard to tie up 9 films. It's impossible to make everyone happy. She then went on to further expand and says that she's received some strong opinions from members of the public about the franchise in the past, stating, "Some of the shit people have said to me about Star Wars you wouldn't believe. I've had people say to me, it wasn't a great film, was it? And I'm like, that's just bad manners. That's effing not nice." Now look, I will take this from 2 very different viewpoints. First and foremost, no, it's not nice. It isn't nice at all, Daisy, for a member of the public to have the nerve to come up to someone and criticise them for their role in a project which they are just one tiny little mechanism in a greater working cog of greater mechanisms, if you like. Terrible analogy, I know. But she's just one part in a greater machine. That's what I was trying to say. So it's not her fault that she had some terrible wooden lines. Perhaps it's her fault for delivering the lines, but it's not her fault that The Last Jedi was a bit of a shithouse of a movie. It's certainly not her fault that Rian Johnson decided to go off kilter with the canon, go off kilter with the legacy of numerous characters, and just give us a slow speed chase in the history of cinema, and take us off on an animal cruelty advert through some shite casino planet that is Canto Bight, of course. That's not her fault. She's only doing her job. So no, it isn't nice. I agree with her there. And I think this is perhaps just, again, a manifestation of modern day society, where people feel like, well, they have social media. They can go on and express their opinion without any consequences whatsoever. They can say what they want. They can throw and hurl abuse at public figures, and they think it's completely acceptable. Then when they go out into the real world and they encounter these people, they continue this on, and in their minds there's no consequences for their actions or their words. So they walk up to people like Daisy and they state quite matter of fact that, well, that movie was shit, wasn't it? And that is not acceptable. It's bad mannered, and it's just not tolerable in a modern day society. There's some protocol to social situations, and sadly these people are sadly lacking, I would suggest. Now, from the other viewpoint, I can totally understand fans want to criticise the pile of shit that was The Last Jedi for the most part. I actually like certain elements of it, as I have admitted previously. I think the visuals in the main are pretty outstanding. It's one of the best visual Star Wars movies ever created, and there was some elements in there that were okay, Force FaceTiming aside and whatnot, but I can completely understand people being hypercritical of the movie for how it handled the legacy characters like Luke Skywalker primarily, and just the way that it seemed to rip up storylines and arcs which we had seen perhaps being developed from The Force Awakens. It wasn't a great movie for me, it really wasn't. I was slightly blinkered when I went in to watch it the first time. I've only seen it twice ever. The last time I seen it was New Year in 2017 or 2018 I should say, and I've not seen it since. But I was slightly blinkered initially. The experience, I thought, this is actually not too bad, but on subsequent viewings, that other viewing I should say, and then just looking back in hindsight, I realised that I was gravely mistaken. It was a pile of shit, and I think there should be a degree of scope in the fan base for criticism. Constructive feedback is always a good thing, and we shouldn't be bashing people for their opinions. We shouldn't be saying to people, look, you don't like this film, therefore you're a woman hater, therefore you're a misogynistic piece of shit, therefore you are racist, or you are xenophobic if you hate on the Rose Tico character. Because look, people have their opinion. They have their right to express their opinion as long as they are doing it in a constructive manner, a non-aggressive manner, and not abusing people. And I feel like most people have did that when they've been criticised in The Last Jedi. Also the idiots who were racially abusing and bullying Kelly Marie Tran aside, I think most people have taken it in the right manner. They've criticised it, something that's dear to them. And none of this would have happened if Rian Johnson had approached the movie in the correct way and handled the legacy characters and handled people's expectations a little better. I mean, I understand that it's his movie, he has a right to write it whichever way he feels is necessary. He's the director. But look, when you've got expectations, you have to go in and at least feed some of them. Look what Kevin Feige does in the MCU. Look what he does with all the great Marvel movies in general. He knows how to appease fans. He knows how to give them just enough fan service, but also not have it completely destroy the story. He will do something different on the odd occasion, but he doesn't hit everyone over the head with identity politics. And I feel like that balance was missing with the Rian Johnson debacle on The Last Jedi, I should say, not The Rise of Skywalker. And look, I can see it from both sides of the argument. I can understand where Daisy's coming from. You will never appease everyone in the Star Wars fandom, no matter what you do. JJ could hit the ball out of the park and he would upset some part of the fandom if he goes back and retcons half of The Last Jedi. There will be people who love The Last Jedi, I don't know who they are, but they're out there, who would be very upset and they'd be going off on their soapboxes and ranting at JJ. Likewise, if he just continues on in the same manner as Rian Johnson did in the middle movie in this sequel trilogy, he's going to upset a whole array of other people. So you can never keep everyone happy. It's impossible. I can understand what she's saying. I can also understand what she's saying about people coming up and being abusive and maybe not approaching it in the correct manner and saying things that are deeply disrespectful. I mean, this lady, she's just went out and did her job. She's put probably blood, sweat and tears into this project. She's clearly passionate about it. And it's not her fault that it's not worked out in the manner which people would expect it to work out. I'm having issues with my iPad here. I don't know why it's froze up. But look, yes, I'm going to move on in that note. I've not got much more to say. I've done it to the death. I can see both sides of the coin without repeating myself ad nauseum. And the next one is going to be continuing directly into The Rise of Skywalker as well. It's the cast reacting to the movie. Richard E. Grant posted a video up on Twitter in his usual fashion. He's very, how shall I put it, bombastic and full of life. He's a vivacious character, is Richard. Yeah, speaking about people who put blood, sweat and tears and the whole souls into projects, I get that feeling with this guy. An incredibly passionate actor who's gave his entire life and career to try to make something special in each individual piece of work that he obviously has the beauty of working in. And he has done a little video. I did watch it. He says it's everything you'd expect and more, that he's utterly delighted to be a part of it, thankful, and that he can't wait to share what they've created with the fans. Now, I think we've also had a little tweet from John Boyega as well, where he has, I believe he's done a Tupac Shakur gif of him showing his excitement of going to see it. Now, they've been reacting in general, and they've been reacting very positively. Now, obviously you can take this with a humongous pinch of salt, because these people have, you know what I mean, they've got a reason to be trying to promote this movie. They are working in the movie. They maybe have an ulterior motive to keep the fans on side, maybe get some gullible folk in there who were perhaps not on board for it, but now will be, now they've seen the reactions of the actors. Does this make my anticipation build ever more, having seen these reactions from the actors? Well, no, it doesn't, because as I've said time and again, I will be there on December 19th or maybe slightly after. Regardless, I'm a fan of Star Wars, even though I hated elements of The Last Jedi without battering over that again. There's enough here for me to go in and watch it. It's the culmination of the Skywalker saga, and just this storyline of J.J. Abrams. Can he stick the landing, essentially? Can he finish what he started? This guy has a reputation for rejuvenating ailing franchises, bringing them out of the doldrums. He did it with Star Trek. Some people would say it's shit, other people love it. He also did it with Mission Impossible, rejuvenated that. We now have Christopher McQuarrie coming in and taking over from him, and that has gone off into strength to strength, and it's becoming a really powerful franchise again after starting well, slightly dipping, and now it's going off and being better. But he's never really stuck the landing, came back and finished what he started. So that alone has me in the theatre to see whether JJ can bring back some of the magic, which was undoubtedly in The Force Awakens. A movie not without fault either. And just whether he can round this up in a manner which will bring the fan base back into a semi-cohesive unit. So no, in short, this doesn't really excite me. It doesn't change my opinion on The Rise of Skywalker and my expectations. But what I will say with one caveat is that I do find, and I'll probably be contradicting myself here slightly, I do find Richard E. Grant to be a very honest guy. He seems a really down-to-earth, grounded chap. And any time I've seen him in interviews, round table things with fellow actors, he always strikes me as a really cool guy who speaks the truth, speaks from the heart. So I have no doubt in my mind that him having seen this movie, flying all the way out to LA to do obviously junkets and actually see the first screener of the movie, I have no doubt in my mind that the guy is being honest when he says that it's a truly overwhelming feeling that he's got watching it, that he's genuinely excited about it. I don't deny it, but whether it actually plays out and translates into being a movie which can bridge that divide and unite a deeply fractured fan base really remains to be seen. And look, I've not really got much more to add. I have rounded this show out with a whole array of different topics, so I don't have to dig myself ginormous holes and talk myself into a corner just to expand the show out ever more. So on that note, I'm going to move on to another topic which may be slightly controversial, not for me, but some people in the fandom will be absolutely cringing and twitching furiously. Their little eyes will be doing a nervous dance reading the headline alone, which is, incidentally, J.J. Abrams hints at the Rise of Skywalker's LGBTQ representation, but not with Poe and Finn. So there'll be a lot of people out there disappointed that Poe and Finn are not hooking up in this movie. He says in the quote, "That relationship to me is a far deeper one than a romantic one. It is a deep bond that these two have, not just because of that trial by fire in which they met, but also because of their willingness to be as intimate as they are, as afraid as they, as unsure as they are, and still be bold and still be daring and brave." He's further went on to say that, and in the case of the LGBT community, it was important for me that people who go to see this movie feel that they are being represented in the film. He's went on to say, look, I'm not promising anything, but look, you can read into the quote what you read. Now, what do I make from this? Well, look, I don't really care one way or the other whether Poe and Finn get together. It's never really been something that I've been that bothered about, been that caught up in. Just like the Reylo thing as well. I don't really need romance to be thrust into Star Wars, unless it's something that's blindingly obvious, like obviously Leia and Han Solo. It's not something I go into a Star Wars movie expecting or even looking for. It's never been about the romance for me. It's been about balls to the wall action, nostalgia, great space opera, basic characters within a more complex, nuanced storyline, and just lightsaber battles and Force. That's what it's been about for me. Colourful new exotic locations. Growing up with the prequels like I did, people shit on top of them, me included, for the dialogue, but one thing you cannot deny from George is colourful landscapes, amazing alien worlds, and just giving us an amazing storyboard, even if the actual dialogue within was shit and some of the performances were wooden. So no, this is not something that really bothers me in a sense. The relationship between Finn and Poe, it's not something I ever really looked into. I know people spoke about Poe biting his lip and things like that when he was speaking to Finn, but if they made them gay characters then they were gay. I mean, it is what it is. It's the 21st century. I don't get hit up on things like that. I'm not really bothered about sexuality. That's what it is. You know, I don't care. And as for the LGBTQ representation, well, yeah, if they can fit it into the movie in a natural manner and it's not jarring and hitting you on the head with it like we absolutely have to thrust identity politics or representation in here just for the sake of it, even if it spoils the flow of the movie, the tone of the movie, and it disrupts the story, then no, I'm not wanting that. But I'm absolutely for representation. I've said it time and again. Modern day movies should be representative of wider society in all its various different facets and different forms. I mean, we have a wide array of different people out there. We have Muslims, we have Christians, we have Jews, we have Christ, we have Buddhists, and we have black people, we have Chinese people, we have Native American people, Caucasians, we have gay people, straight people, transsexual people. And I feel like everyone should have the right to watch a movie and feel like they're being represented, that they see something which maybe emboldens them to do something different with their life, maybe go and pursue a career in acting because they feel like they are being represented in a big blockbuster. So I'm all for that, just as long as it isn't at the expense of the story and the actual movie itself, in which case I'm not for it. And I feel like JJ will get that balance right because he knows what he's doing. He's never really thrusted that in at the expense of storytelling. Some people would argue he's not a great storyteller. I would say he's not too bad. I think The Force Awakens, even though it was a hogwash, I keep wanting to say hogwash, I don't know why, a mishmash is what I'm wanting to say, of various different parts of the original trilogy, it still had little things in there which felt like Star Wars, and I feel like he understands it in the main. But yeah, all in all, I've not really got much more to add other than to say that representation's a good thing. I always look at obviously Leonard Nimoy from the original Star Trek series, and him speaking with great pride about how he has had a whole host of different people come up to him and say, look, we were really inspired by what you did in that TV show, and it made us go and pursue a career in science and in medicine and whatnot. So that's the power of movie, and that's why I loved Black Panther, and that's why I love movies which empower minority communities and feel like it give them the sense that they can go and be something which otherwise they think would perhaps be close to them because of perceived injustices or just being a minority obviously community. But look guys, I've not really got much more to add to that. I feel like I'm painting myself into a very dodgy corner indeed, so I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is a little bit more traditional Star Wars, in the sense that it's all about what I says I love in a Star Wars movie: force powers. This is coming in from Collider.com, and they are saying that Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker will introduce new force powers. Now this is coming from a Vanity Fair interview with J.J. Abrams. He's been a very busy boy indeed. He just finished shooting this movie a week ago, and he's right out into the press junkets doing interviews and working furiously to promote the movie, and look, hats off to him. I know he has to do it, it's part of the contract. But he says that it was really important that we not just redo the things you've seen, but add new elements, which we knew will infuriate some people and thrill others. Now that I don't get, and I'll get into that. That comment's deeply perplexing to me. He goes on to say, among these things are not just new ways of doing sort of traditional must-have sequences, where it's chases or lightsaber battles or what have you. We wanted to make sure that this picture also showed aspects of the Force in ways that go beyond what you've seen before. Now, look, I'm deeply on board for this. I think this is definitely the correct thing to be doing. You have to expand out the mythology, you have to expand out perceived abilities in the Force and even lightsaber techniques and whatnot. That's why even though there's elements of the prequels which are undoubtedly shit, that's why I don't get down too hard on them in my criticism, because I did grow up watching them, and I felt like that was one of the more interesting points of that trilogy, the fact that George did bring in new Force abilities like the speed ability, the ability to jump onto incredibly high platforms, and he introduced the very controversial midichlorians, whole new arrays of worlds. He expanded the universe out, and I feel like that's very important to keep a franchise from growing stale. You have to keep rejuvenating it, mixing it up, and just changing things and giving more variety to the world and the mythology, and I feel like this is the correct thing to be doing from JJ. With that being said, I'm utterly, as I did say, perplexed by that comment, which we knew will infuriate some people and thrill others. Who would it infuriate, JJ? That's a strange comment. It really is weird. Comments like that are why the fan base becomes fractured. We've had the likes of Ryan Johnson come out and say man babies and call people racist and misogynistic and really hate on the fan base and the primary demographics, people who have been following these movies for 40 years. And I feel like that's just another facet of that kind of a criticism. Sly little digs at the fan base. Now, you either want this movie to be a success and connect with the fan base and bring it back into a more homogeneous, harmonious state, or you don't. You want to keep feeding it and making that bile continue to bubble under the surface. That is not a correct way to handle the fan base. I'm completely against that. That's disgraceful, that comment. There's no way it will infuriate anyone unless it's handled in a way where it's so jarring that you have maybe an agenda in there in the way you're utilising these new Force abilities. I really am perplexed by it. I don't know why it would infuriate people watching a Star Wars movie, coming in and giving their hard-earned cash, being fans of a franchise, why they would be infuriated by a new Force power. Makes no sense to me. Very strange comment. But yeah, I think it will thrill most people. The second little latter part to that point that you made, I think it will be a positive seeing new Force powers. Look, I mentioned the Force feedback, the Force FaceTime from The Last Jedi. I've seen a lot of people criticise it, maybe that's what he's getting at, but I actually really enjoyed the little FaceTime thing, the little when it came in from, like, obviously when they were in their surroundings, when they then connected with each other, you had that little sound effect. And again, it was just expanding the mythology, so I'm all for that. And yeah, I want to see more things being added into Star Wars all the time. I think it's what keeps it fresh and what makes it so enjoyable and interesting to new generations of fans and older generations of fans alike. But look, I've had my little dig at JJ. I've had my little enthusiastic whoop at the thought of new Force powers, and I'm going to move on to the next topic on that note because I've not got anything else to say about it. This one's coming in from Screen Rant, and it's all about Oscar Isaac and John Boyega and Oscar Isaac confirming that they will not be interested in starring in any Disney Plus Star Wars projects in the future. Now, John was speaking to a variety of different people. I actually have another article opened for John's specific comments. He says to a publication that doesn't say what one, it was Variety again. He was responding to a question. He says, "And what? You ain't going to Disney Plus me? I ain't getting no Disney Plus. I'm watching it though, but I'll stay in the feature films." Now, that's his response. I think Oscar Isaac just flat out responded with a no. He's not going to be interested in starring in any Disney Plus projects in the future. Now, I find this disappointing and slightly pompous in many ways because we have some incredibly talented actors appearing in these Disney Plus shows right now. The likes of Pedro Pascal, who's a wonderful actor and a close friend of Oscar Isaac. He's the title lead in The Mandalorian, and he's doing an absolutely momentous job. It's bringing back that Star Wars feeling, that nostalgia. Everything just feels like Star Wars, and he's a central role in it. We've got the likes of Werner Herzog in there. We've got Giancarlo Esposito, a whole array of very talented actors allowing themselves to be associated with a Disney Plus project. Further down the line, we have Diego Luna coming back. We have Ewan McGregor coming in. We have Alan Tudyk. These guys are all wonderfully talented actors who are not ashamed to be associated with Disney Plus projects. And I feel like this is maybe, again, just that old traditional way of viewing the entertainment industry in Hollywood, jarring and clashing with the new generation of streaming and perhaps the new way forward. And you're always going to have these traditionalists saying, "No, I'll not start on a streaming platform," snubbing it and essentially looking down their noses. And I feel like that's not correct at all. And look, if I was Disney, I'd be saying to them, well, look, if you're not interested in perhaps starring in a little movie on Disney Plus or even a character-centric standalone series, then you'll not be starring in any more feature-length movies for us either. I'd be shutting the door on them completely. I feel like it's the wrong attitude, and I'm really disappointed to hear it. And now, obviously, this could be completely out of context. I know what John Boyega's like. He's a very jovial, upbeat, spirited guy. And he perhaps says it in a joking manner, and he would perhaps be open to starring in it. And look, I don't blame him in a sense. I want to focus on his film career at the moment and not want to be bogged down with TV shows. I did mention Ewan McGregor, but this guy's established in Hollywood. He's getting roles as, obviously, what's his goddamn name? I forgot it already. And Danny Torrance in Doctor Sleep. And then he stars in Emmy Award winning TV shows like Fargo. So this guy's established. John's very much still on the rise up in his career. He's in an upward trajectory. So can't really be too harsh on him. I'm perhaps being harsh. I'll rein it in. Don't shut the door on him just yet, Disney. I can understand why he wants to go and do films for at least a good few years. That's always the dream, I would imagine, if you're an actor. Oscar, though, is a strange one because he is already firmly established. He's a very good actor. He's done a wide array of different roles. It really surprises me that if Poe makes it through this trilogy, that he wouldn't want to come back. A role that he's expressed a lot of love for. He fought hard to have him survive through The Force Awakens, and then now that he's survived, he's perhaps shutting the door on it after the trilogy ends. If he does survive, that is. Strange to me. But look, horses for courses and all that jazz. I don't know the context of the statements because I've not actually heard them say it. It's in written form. Sarcasm and sardonic wit can be lost in that form. So maybe I'm being harsh, essentially. But look, I've not got much more to add to it. It'll be what it'll be. We shall see in time whether Poe perhaps gets a standalone TV show and whether they can maybe tempt good old Oscar in 5-6 years down the road with a big paycheck, because money speaks. After all, and doesn't have a near endless pit of the goddamn stuff. But look guys, I'll move on to the next topic. And this one is coming in from Cinema Blend, and it is about fans complaining about Star Wars. Who would have thought it? After me speaking about Daisy Ridley and J.J. Abrams going on about fan bases and their continual perpetual, if you'd like, whinging about all things Star Wars, they are moaning about a potential spoiler which popped up in yet another TV spot. Incidentally, I've stopped watching these TV spots because there's just too many of them, and I don't want the entire movie spoiled. I've already perhaps had it spoiled though, which I will go into in this topic. And essentially what it is the dagger, which seems to be a prominent part of this story, has popped up in one of these shots. We have Rey lifting it up. It looks like looking out onto the ruins of the Death Star, which we've seen previously. We have Finn and Poe behind her. And fans are up in arms about this because they perceive this as a potentially massive spoiler for the movie. And look, we have had leaks about the plot of The Rise of Skywalker, pointing out that a dagger with Sith runes on it plays a massive part in the story, a massive part in C-3PO having his memory wiped and becoming full battle droid, which of course we see with him carrying Chewbacca's obviously bowcaster. And apparently it's a big MacGuffin, a plot device to lead us to Sheev Palpatine at the end of the movie. Now, if this is indeed true, and look, by all accounts, this dagger's in there, we've seen it before in the trailer. Perhaps they're putting two together and they've got an imagination and they have pieced together a fake plot, I don't know. But if it's true that this has the significance that some fans appear to think it does, then perhaps that vindicates and validates some of these rumoured leaks of the Rise of Skywalker plot. And if it does, then I have to say I am deeply concerned, because that leaked plot, if I can speak, is really, really piss poor. Really, really bad. We have Rey confronting Sheev at the end and killing him single-handedly, and that would be the final slap in the face to all of the fan base which has followed this story for 40 years. In my case, 20 years, 25 years. To have Luke Skywalker, the perceived greatest Jedi of his generation, fail to take down the Emperor single-handedly, requiring the help of his father Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. To have the likes of Yoda not be able to beat him, the likes of Mace Windu not be able to beat him, and then this little girl brought up on Jakku to no parents, no force ability, suddenly awakening the force in her mid-20s, and then be able to take down the single greatest living Sith Lord of all time, if you'd like, perhaps, on her own. That would be terrible, man. And look, this is perhaps playing into this dagger. Now, another point they are making is that it could be the dagger of Mortis, and that this could be a nice little Easter egg which is going to be spoiled for people before they even go into the movie. And it just brings me on to a point that I would like to make about what I see as perhaps flaws in the modern day promotion of movies. I feel like movies back in the early 2000s, perhaps prior to the metaphoric rise of the internet, they seem to be better because they lacked the just overwhelming promotion that gets hit over the head of every single person interested in the movie. It just seems like they go OTT with the trailers, the teaser trailers, trailer teasers. We've got every single goddamn combination of different teasers and trailers out there, and then we get about 50 million TV spots after it as well. I just feel like they're over-marketing movies these days. Now, I know they have $3, $4, $5 million tied up in Star Wars, and they have to make their money back, and the best way to do that is to get it out to the general public, the Joe Blogs, if you'd like. But I feel like it makes the movie lose something palpable. You're showing too much. I don't know, unless you do MCU stuff where you're double buffing and putting things in which are not in the movie at all, at builds hype, and then you still get to see huge swathes of the movie which are not spoiled, then I just feel like it's way too much. I'm not for it, and I do understand what the fans are saying in this, where they are criticising potential spoilers coming up. This dagger, if it's such a big part of the movie in terms of a MacGuffin leading to the Emperor, then it shouldn't be in a TV spot. But look, I'll have a degree of faith because it's a J.J. Abrams movie, and this man's famed for his mystery boxes, and look, he doesn't give a lot away, so I'll add that little caveat in there. There's always a potential that the dagger doesn't mean much at all, that it is just a minor MacGuffin, and that, look, he's flinging it in because he doesn't think it's a major spoiler. I'm drinking a hell of a lot here, but my voice is starting to go, if you'd understand. And on that note though, I'm going to move on to the final topic on today's Force Friday show. An absolutely god-awful transition there, I do apologise for that. But this one is all about Leia and her role, exciting role potentially in the Rise of Skywalker. It's coming from Cinema Blend, and this one is coming from someone, they just say an update from a recent press junket for the Rise of Skywalker. They're not saying who actually says it, but it's actually a description of one of the general's costumes which was on display, so no one has said it, it was written down. And it says that General Leia Organa continues to lead the heroic resistance, building back a fighting force after having suffered costly setbacks. Leia is also training Rey in the ways of the Force, for the galaxy still has a need of a Jedi. I mean, I have to read that last bit again. For the galaxy still has a need of a Jedi. Where do I begin? Now look, I'm all for Princess Leia, General Leia, whatever the hell she's called these days, having a sizeable role in the movie. If it can be done in an organic manner, they can utilise rotoscoping techniques and have her there like she was meant to be there. I'm all for it. If it honours the memory of the late Carrie Fisher, she's one of the OG trio of actors, and I want to see the character get its due deserts, if you like, just deserts. It deserves to be handled with respect, and it deserves to have a proper and fitting send-off. So I'm not doing down on the Leia character, absolutely not. But that final line is just a slap in the face for me. For the galaxy still needs a Jedi, I'll say it again. Well, it had a Jedi. It had Luke Skywalker, who was made to look like a little bitch, hiding out on an island, shutting himself off from the Force, so much so that he couldn't even feel his great friend Han Solo dying. He refused point blank to go and help the resistance. He force projected himself across the galaxy after minorly training Rey, and then he died on a rock, on his own, on a shitey little rock ocean planet. We could have had a Jedi in this final movie. Carrie Fisher died after The Last Jedi was done filming. They could have went back and killed the character off in that movie in a way which was respectful and handled the legacy of the character well, if you like. And they could have went and simply not made Luke drop to the rock and die and obviously become one with the Force. Then we could have had Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, who's lost so much weight for the role, put himself through unnecessary grief. We could have had him come in and play a real chunky role in training Rey in the final act of the movie, then becoming one with the Force after finally defeating evil for the final time. That would have been the best way to do it. We have a living, breathing actor who can come in and play the role. But no, Kathleen Kennedy had an agenda. Lucasfilm had an agenda. Rian Johnson had an agenda. The only movie not to be reshot in the Disney era. And they decide to continue on with the storyline of killing off Luke, and then they allow Leia to live on into the last movie, despite Carrie Fisher passing away. Now this was a disaster for me. It was wrongly handled, and it's coming home to roost, because we have the situation now where we have a dead actor being rotoscoped in with archive footage, whilst a very living actor has been put in and made to look dead. He's a Force ghost. It's just wrong, it's ridiculous to me, it makes no sense. But what I will say is I really do hope that Princess Leia, General Leia Organa, is handled correctly in this movie. I really hope that it feels organic, that she interacts in a way which is not taking you out the movie, like perhaps it did for some people with Grand Moff Tarkin in the Rogue One. I hope that the character gets a fitting send-off for about the 50th time I've said it. She's not just blown up in the Millennium Falcon, which I heard was a rumour, along with Chewie and Lando incidentally, and the droids. Jesus Christ, that would be the final shitting on all of the fans and on the original trilogy. I hope she perhaps becomes one with the Force, and it will be cool to see her perhaps embrace the Force side of her character, become a Jedi. Maybe she was trained by Luke in some point in time and we didn't see it, it was off camera. Lord knows. But look, time will tell how it's handled. Time will tell if they are hitting us over the head with identity politics. Time will tell if they are forcing characters with different things going on into the movie at the expense of a story. And time will tell if the reaction of the actors is to be trusted, if you like. But look guys, what did you make of the topics I spoke about on today's show? What did you make about the Daisy Ridley comments about this movie not being able to please everyone? What did you make about all the other topics I spoke about? There was too many to round through at the end of a show. If you have anything to say about anything, you can comment below and let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can like the video if you've enjoyed it, and you can subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying content like this. And if you do, I'll be back on Monday for MB Movie News.